Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Christy's Court. And boy, oh my goodness, we are thrilled to have Brenda Frese, the head coach at the University of Maryland, joining us on Christy's Court today on the Field of 68 Network. Brenda Frese, welcome to Christy's Court.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Christy. Hope you had a great Christmas and looking forward to a happy new year coming up. So hope everything is well.
Oh, thank you. Same for you. I hope you had a fantastic holiday with your family. And I know that you come from a big family. And I'm just going to go right to the beginning of your journey and the sibling rivalry or the sibling togetherness or the sibling team that you had. How did that dynamic help you now as a coach and a mom?
Yeah, I think I was really fortunate, obviously, to have, five other siblings. We had parents that were really heavily involved in putting us in a lot of sports. We were always outside. You have to remember this was, before cell phones and, computers. I'm aging myself here, but we were always involved in a lot of activities and, play on the driveway. So all of those, experiences, just lended towards being in, we were already a team when you talk about all six of us as children, being together in the household. I mean, everything was competitive. I mean, all the way down to if you got pizza delivered and, how many slices of pizza you were going to get, it was a competition. So, it was something that, really excited and proud of just our family coming from such a large family unit.
Right. And with that being said, your parents having six children in the household who were all competitive, how did they coach the team when we're talking about the siblings and the babies running around?
Well, I think we had the best of both worlds. My dad played sports growing up, whether it be baseball and basketball, and my mom was a cheerleader. So I think we kind of really had, when you talk about, that side of a coach. And, my dad was great. When I played basketball, he would never give advice unless we came to him and asked for it. So typically after a tough game, I mean, it wouldn't be until the next morning that I was ready to approach him to just get some feedback. And he was always great. And then, my mom as the, in that cheerleading role was just always there, just supportive. My parents, like you said, had six kids, they juggled two jobs, and they never missed a game. When I think back to, all the kids that they had, and they were truly at every single game that I can ever remember.
That's so beautiful. And that's so special too, to have that kind of memory of the support of your parents. And to hear now the student athletes who you have coached up over the years say that it's the family atmosphere at Maryland. I think that whole dynamic has carried over to you as a coach now.
Yeah, no question. I would have it no other way. It's all I know. I mean, how I was raised, and I think when you're asking, players to come to a university away from their own families, it's really important that they feel that kind of support every single day, because you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows when you go through your college experience in those 4 to 5 years. So, I think it's always really, really important that they know this is an extension of their home that they had, and, they're going to be under great people and coaches and support staff that are always going to be there for them every step of the way.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And, going back to your high school basketball career, I mean, you didn't just play basketball. I saw some softball, volleyball, some track things, like you were doing a lot. But with basketball, you put the ball in the basket, Coach Frese. You put the ball in the basket, Brenda. Like, you had games where you scored over 30 points several times, earned a scholarship to Arizona. And what was it about the thrill of seeing the ball go through the hoop? How is that translated? Because, I mean, Maryland is tops in the country in scoring right now. I mean, it has to have some kind of correlation to the thrill of
Well,
the offense.
I think it goes back. A lot of people don't know this, but all the way up until 8th grade, we played 6-on-6. So I came from the half court game, and I played the offensive side. I wasn't going to play defense and not be able to score points. So I think that's where it all stemmed from. And then obviously as we transitioned into 5-on-5, and the game grew, just fell in love with that game. I'll say though, like as time has gone on, in my coaching career, I actually love both ends now. It took me a while to get to the defensive end, to be as excited, and now but obviously you have to outscore your opponent to win. I can't stand games that are in the 60s and grind it out, and I love players that can show off their offensive skill set.
Right. And how was that for you as a player to adapt to that change, like from being just on the offensive side to then going 5v5 and having to play both ends? Like how was that adjustment for you personally?
I mean, I remember the summer before I was transitioning to high school, I went to a bunch of camps because I needed to learn the game. And I just remember thinking there were way too many people on the court. I was never going to learn this game. It was too hard. So how far we've come, in that mentality. So, but it does give me just great perspective, of, where, I got to kind of grow up, and not a lot of people know the 6-on-6 and half court, and, to see where we are today.
Right. And that sense of learning and wanting to learn and get that kind of enrichment about the game and further your knowledge about it. After you went to Arizona, during your senior year, I believe you were volunteering at a local community college there in Arizona. Yeah. How did that kind of plant the seed for where you are now?
Yeah. I think, a lot of times, I mean, when you go through adversity or tough times, you never know what lies on the other side when you're going through it. And when I was at Arizona, I had my career cut short. I ended up having 4 foot surgeries. And it was really out of those experiences of watching my coaches in the locker room at the U of A, and then having the opportunity in my 5th year to be able to go on and finish my schooling, as well as coach at Pima Community College. And for me, it was at that point that I was like, wow, I mean, this is what I love. I don't want to step away from the game. I mean, yes, it was I had my career cut short, but I feel like I gained so much from such a tough experience that I went through, that ultimately led me down this path.
Yeah. And boy, when you say this path, what a path, Brenda, what a path, because, you had stops at Kent State. You also had a stop at Iowa State, and then you were named National Coach of the Year at your 3rd stop at a super young age, but you took in the information. And, it kind of takes me back to what you were saying about going to those camps so you could learn, and then now coaching at the community college level, just learning how that feels to just craft out a game and plan it out on the coaching side. But those 3 stops, just discuss briefly each one and what it meant for you to be in those moments at that time.
Yeah. I think, well, as an assistant coach, I remember taking the job at Kent State sight unseen, and driving to the school with my parents in a U-Haul, thinking like, I hope I like this place. This is, again, you couldn't see it on the internet. And, just, I wanted to coach that badly that I ended up going there. And out of that, had the opportunity to go to Iowa State, work under one of the best with Bill Finley, coach my sister, which, I think to this day still allows me to know and understand, like, I'm coaching someone's daughter. I was coaching my sister, and what that feels like, each and every day. And just, again, learned so much from Bill Finley in the time. And it was really from there, we, my last game there, second to last game, we beat UConn in the Sweet 16 to go to the Elite 8. And it really was then when the Ball State job came open, I knew I would have a shot at it, just kind of given the success that we had so quickly at Iowa State. So went to Ball State. That was my first head coaching job. Super green. I mean, I recommend to everyone, you want to go take your first head coaching job and be under the radar. I made so many mistakes in those first 2 years that nobody had to write about, see. I think it's a little different nowadays.
Yeah.
But was able to really learn a lot, and then out of that, ended up getting the head coaching job at Minnesota, where we turned that program around. And when you have Lindsay Whalen and Janelle McCarville as two of your star players, great things are ahead. I don't think they knew at that time where things were going to be headed, but we took a program that was 8-20 and went 22-8 in that season. And then obviously Maryland came open. So it was, three moves in 4 years as a head coach. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. That was a tough climb.
Sure.
But every step was worth it, and I'm just glad now that I can call Maryland home, and that, I've been here for, I think I'm going on into year 19 now. So.
Yes, yes. And when you were at Minnesota, that big turnaround wasn't just wins and losses, but it was also interest for the women's program and where the women's team was playing, and then how that changed. What was the process of the change of venue for the women's team?
Yeah, it was a cool story. When we started, we played in the Pavilion, which is now where their volleyball team plays. I'll never forget my first game in the Pavilion. I think we had 50 fans, and 40 of them were probably my family and my parents and extended family. Nobody was there to watch the women play. It was a rebuild. And then we played through the season, and then in January we played at Wisconsin. They were ranked number 4 in the country.
Wow.
And it was kind of then when our team kind of came together, and we went into, Wisconsin, 17,000 people, was sold out, and beat them on their home court. And ironically, after we beat them, there was a water burst that broke in the Pavilion. So we were not allowed to go back to our home site. So we ended up having to go into Williams Arena. And I mean, again, it just gives me chills. The first game when we came back after we beat Wisconsin, 15,000 people came out.
Wow.
To watch the team, and they've never looked back. And so it's ironic how it all fell. I mean, Minnesota is a phenomenal state. They support the Gophers through and through. So it was just a tremendous experience.
And to see Lindsay Whalen now at the helm at Minnesota, her alma mater, where you coached her, now you have to coach against her. What is that whole thing like, just to obviously see her play and succeed at the Olympic level in the WNBA, and now to come and give back? What kind of advice have you given her in her role as the head coach at Minnesota?
Yeah. Well, obviously, as you get older, you're like watching your players now get into coaching, which is a really proud moment. I've always wanted as many players as I've coached to come into this game and love it as much as I do. So many great things to be able to give back to, so many players out there. But from Lindsay's end, obviously she's done it at the highest level every step of the way, from college into the WNBA to the Olympics. So it's not surprising that her next step after retirement would have been to go into coaching, and what better place than the U. So it's been neat, because when you talk about, our coaches meetings and,
Right.
Taking her under my wing, we text, we call, I'm here for her, obviously to help in any way, as she navigates these waters.
Yeah, I love that. That's so awesome. And then in 2002, you said, the Maryland job came open, and I know that the men's team had just won a national championship. They were just coming off of that, and there was such a ray of light around the university because of how the men's team did that season. And they came back, they had the parade, and everything was going on. And then now here you come walking into all of that energy. What kind of motivation was that for you to see what the men's team was capable of doing that season, and then coming in on the women's side?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge reason for why I took the job. I mean, when I came and interviewed, they were building Xfinity and, took me in with a hard hat and goggles. And I remember like, looking into the shell of the building and had chills because I could see it, the vision, I could see it, being a sold out arena, being on a national scale. And then obviously I knew, after the men, winning it in 2002 to kind of walk in and kind of have that national name to be able to pick up the phone and talk about your university and your program. And I thought we had so much to sell, which we obviously do. So it was a really easy decision.
Right. And with that being said, from 2002 to 2006, when you won a national championship, what was that process like? I mean, that has to be, I don't know if there's a record or, some kind of analytic that would tell us if that was the fastest run to a championship ever by a head coach. Because I mean, you came in 2002, you won 10 games that first season, and then boom, all of a sudden that national championship that was won in Boston in '06 was right in your hands.
Yeah, I don't know if you could script it any better. I think a few things kind of jump out at me. When I came into Maryland, I could evaluate that we were in a rebuild. So, I mean, honestly, I left a lot of practices to my staff, and I did a ton of recruiting. I felt that's where I needed to be to kind of see as many players as we could get. I mean, you look at the timing around that time. I mean, our region was really, really good. When you talk about, that starting five in '06 with Christy Tolliver and Marissa Coleman and Shay Duran and Crystal Langhorne and Laura Harper, like those kids were all in our region,
Yeah.
so we were able to really spend a lot of time building those relationships. And then I think my first year, we went down to Duke and we lost by 51 points at Duke. And I'll never forget the call I received from our athletic director then, Debbie Yao, sister of Kay Yao, the next morning when I was pulling in the parking lot. My head's like spinning, like, should I have taken this job? What am I doing? 51 points. And she just reminded me that, last night was a tough night losing to Duke, but there will come a day when we will beat Duke. And, just ironic that, 4 years later, here you are on the national scene, in the national championship game, playing Duke to win it all. So, some really incredible things, obviously, that lined up at the right time. I'm not going to, obviously, I think when you work hard, luck falls your way, but at the same point, you still have to have a lot of things line up, in the right direction.
Yeah, no question. And, Shay Duran, you mentioned her name, and, she was trying to choose between Maryland and Harvard at the time, I believe. Yeah. What was the scale for her? Like, what was the balance breaker for her when it came to making that decision, which in turn, I think got the other players in the door at Maryland, and they were freshmen and sophomores in 2006, all the names that you mentioned when they won the championship together. So what was it about her that was the building block for the program?
She was huge. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but I mean, like you said, I mean, just her ability to attract other players, and her championship mentality. I mean, Shay is still playing, and every team she's on, as she's over in Israel, she wins. The kid is just a winner. But I think for us, I mean, I think Harvard was probably in the lead until I got to Maryland and really started pursuing her very heavily. And I think we were able to convince her of the basketball piece. Playing at the next level. I mean, she went on after she graduated and played for the New York Liberty. Right. So, I think those things ultimately trumped, what she was looking for.
Yeah. And what a lot of the Maryland players came into Maryland looking for and ultimately achieving was taking that next step to the pro level and playing in the WNBA. How fulfilling, I mean, you kind of alluded to it a little bit with Lindsay Whalen, but how fulfilling is it for you as a coach to see not only your players get drafted into the WNBA, but to win championships and be at an elite level at the professional level. And to know that the tutelage and the grooming that took place in College Park had something to do with that.
Yeah, I am, most proud of the fact, like when I talk to the general managers and the coaches in the league, they spend a lot of time talking about that our players are very attractive because they know how to handle their business. They've been taught the right way. And that is a big piece in our program is the player development piece. And not only is that just your skills, but there's also, how to act to your behavior, how to handle yourself, there's a process. I mean, obviously, when you come in as freshmen, we're going to really protect you and take care of you. And then sophomore, junior, senior is to kind of, prepare you for what's out ahead. And, I think, that, obviously that consistency has shown. And then that championship mentality that we've had so many players go on and have that championship mentality that they know what it takes at the next level, is very satisfying.
Right. And just with what is going on now, not just with the COVID and all of the things that are currently taking place health-wise, but how have you been able to see what the WNBA has been able to do on the social level? And how have you taken that kind of empowerment that they are presenting? How have you taken that kind of approach to your team and having that open line of communication in that regard regarding our social climate that we're all living in right now?
Yeah. I think obviously, so much of it started in the summertime. When we were able to build up so much trust, we weren't able to be together. But obviously on our Zoom calls, we had a lot of, engaging discussions and people were really, genuine, intimate and, spoke how they were feeling. And I think for us, that hasn't changed as we've now gotten into the season. I mean, yes, we've gotten a lot busier, now as you're preparing for different games. But I think what's so important is that trust level is there within your team. And we've been able to, if anything, is on our mind or bothering us, we're going to share and we're going to speak about it.
Right. Have any of the WNBA players, the current WNBA players, come back to kind of help facilitate in that way, whether it be via Zoom or otherwise?
We had early in some of our Zoom conversations, Christy Tolliver and some of our players when it was early, before they got in the bubble. But it hasn't been obviously since they've gotten heavy into school and the games.
Right. And with that, with the games, I mean, this has to be, I mean, scheduling has always been like difficult,
Yeah.
right? But this season, I mean, what have the challenges done to stretch you, not just as an X and O coach or a recruiter, but just you as a mom, as a coach? What has this time of being in a constant pivot done for you overall as a woman?
I think, for me, it probably hasn't been as hard as it's maybe on other personalities. I think when you maybe have a very controlling or type A, and don't get me wrong, we all like to be organized. I'm the first to want to kind of have a really good schedule for everybody, but I say this, I've had a son who's had cancer, so anything that you throw with me, of a schedule change or different things that are going to, play a part, it doesn't faze me and it doesn't faze our team. So, we've, had our game, postponed with Ohio State. Well, you know what? Our team got 2 more days off at Christmas. So I think we got more game days off than anyone in the country. We got, 7 days off, and you know what? We're going to take every one of them.
Right.
So I think, for all of us, it's just the ability to be flexible. And, that's something that, unfortunately I had to learn through my son's case is that, You don't always get to be in control of things. You have to be able to take things and be patient and understand, like, COVID is a much bigger, bigger than all of us right now. So you know what, if a game gets scrapped, I mean, who cares? Like, the next game we get, we're going to play as hard as we can. If a team can't play us, then we need to be smart, through all of this, so everyone remains healthy.
Absolutely. And this season, I mean, it's so up and down with regards to that. But, you have teams now, like, well, one team in particular with Duke, we were already talking about Duke earlier too, but with Duke not continuing to play, what do you see as that possibly being something that other teams would catch on to? Or do you think that's just an isolated situation with their program?
Well, I think I saw today where SMU now has opted out.
Okay.
So, I think we'll, wait and see as things, I think the month of January is going to be critical to see where a lot of things fall, amongst teams and programs. So, it's hard to be able to guess, but I think,
Right.
Every team has to do where, what they feel comfortable. I mean, I do know, when I'm in the gym with our players and we're at practice, I mean, there's a ton of joy.
Yeah.
We're fortunate because we haven't been stopped. We haven't had to stop yet.
Right.
I think we're in a different element compared to teams that have had to stop, go. And so we don't know what lies ahead, but I just tell our team to cherish every practice day that we get, every game that we get. And I think they've taken a really good mentality this season with that approach.
Yeah. And this team this season, Coach, I mean, it's so exciting to watch a team that gets up and down the floor and scores from everywhere. And it's just so tough to stop. So you're thinking about trying to organize a scout, but it's like you never know who's going to just have an incredible showing offensively in terms of their gaudy stat line. But it's across the board for you guys. It's just everybody is a well-oiled machine when it comes to their skill set. How fun has that been for you to see the balance of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun, I think, because every year, every team is different. So if you took last year's team, they were way more defensive oriented, and just they were incredible on the defensive end, and then with all the off season, graduation and changes, and the staff worked so hard with putting so many great pieces together, and so it's been really special. Like, this group. You just can see how much they care for each other, to have this group really bond through the Zooms this summer. And now you're seeing it all unfold with, they're so talented on the offensive end. They share the basketball really, really unselfishly. And they really just, I mean, they're in their own bubble. I mean, I think that's a big thing right now is they've just spent so much time just themselves and building that chemistry, amongst themselves, that has been pretty phenomenal to be able to watch.
Yes, and you know what? We're gonna end it right there, because just the correlation of how we started with your journey as one of 6 siblings, and the family cohesion that came from that experience, to now you being the leader of not only the University of Maryland women's basketball team, but of 2 fantastic young little boys who you are growing into great young men. But just that whole dynamic, Brenda, we thank you for your contributions to the game of basketball, and not just that, but the way that we should all be able to view life in a flexible mindset, and how important that is, especially in the days that we're living in. And for that, I'm just grateful for the time that you carved out for Christy's Court today on the field of 68 Network. And we wish you all the best moving forward, all the best with safety and health for the team and the program and everything that you do.
Well, we appreciate you, Christy, and can't thank you enough. And, love the uniform behind you, and, all the great years that you gave here to Maryland. But it's truly an honor to be on Christy's Court tonight.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon, whether virtually or otherwise.
All right. Thank you so much.